Chosen one, I speak to you now as a loving guide with a word from heaven. You did not click here by accident. I see your prophetic scroll being unsealed in perfect Kairos timing, a holy unlocking written for you before you were born. I declare you are standing at the edge of a destined moment, a sealed prophecy opening that could unfold today, tonight, or within the coming hours and days. Anointed one, hear me, the appointed hour on heaven's clock has struck. I feel the urgency in your spirit. This is not delay, but precise divine alignment. Like Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse 3 says, the vision awaits its appointed time. It will surely come. Like Ecclesiastes, chapter 3, verse 1, reminds us there is a season for every purpose under heaven. My beloved, this is an invocation over your heart. Prepare to receive. I call you into readiness of body, spirit, and circumstance. Expect transformation, a shift that honors your mantle and mission. Do not shrink from the wait. It is preparation, not punishment. I declare with certainty and tender love that heaven is activating what was sealed. Walk into this Kairos with reverent faith, for your destiny is moving, and I stand with you as it unfolds. Chosen one, listen with the stillness of your heart. This is not ordinary speech. I come to you as one who has walked through valleys where the night felt long and the promise is thin, and I tell you now, heaven is intervening on your behalf. Your hidden scroll, the sealed prophecy written before your breath, is moving. I see the seals loosen. I feel the Kairos ripple across your timeline. This is a divine pivot. This is the appointed hour on heaven's clock that was set for you before you were formed. Anointed one, understand this with clarity. What has pressed you, pruned you, or delayed you was not rejection. It was preparation. Every closed door was a shaping room. Every shortage was a lesson in stewardship. Every humiliation, a training for humility. Every isolation, a refining of your voice. I name these things tenderly because I know the sting. I remember nights of counting coins in a quiet kitchen, praying for a breakthrough while learning to give from the little I had. Those nights were not wasted. They were a classroom where God taught you how to carry a mantle without being undone by it. Hear me, the mantle you are about to wear is not an ornament, it is weight and authority combined. It will shift atmospheres and alter destinies. It will expose what was hidden and liberate what was captive. The enemy has attacked your finances, your identity, your relationships, because he feared the activation of your assignment. He hits where a destiny can be stolen. That pressure signaled that something of heaven was trying to be birthed through you. Do not shrink. That pressure was protection disguised as pain. It was pruning to make room for growth. Right now, I prophesy over your spirit. A sealed scroll is opening in your timeline. The language of heaven is releasing into your language. Names, places, doors, and connections that were written in the hidden book are aligning with earthly seasons. You may sense sudden clarity, a download that feels like muscle memory, or an unexpected favor that lands precisely when you need it. This is not coincidence. This is orchestration. Trust the rhythm of the Kairos. Like Habakkuk chapter 2 verse 3 declares, the vision waits for its appointed time. When the time comes, it speaks clearly and will not delay. Receive that promise now. Chosen one, I know the fear that whispers, what if I fail? What if I lose it again? Listen to me as your guardian and friend. Failure in the past was a tuition paid for your future integrity. You were taught to value resources, to invest in people, to guard your heart. You learned to sow with intention and to steward with reverence. I remember a season when I believed a door was the answer. It closed and revealed a better route. I learned to wait for the voice that gives a map, not just a momentum. Your patience was not passive, it was preparatory. Every test distilled a sharper discernment into you. I speak now of activation. Heaven is not only preparing you, heaven is positioning your provision. The mantle and the money will meet, but the money will serve the mantle, not the other way around. This meeting will look like unexpected resources flowing toward a divine assignment, businesses that become altars of blessing, investments that fund rescue opportunities that change bloodlines. When the sealed scroll opens, it brings instruction where to place, when to give, whom to elevate. You will find doors opening that align exactly with the instructions written on your heart. Anointed one, hear this intimately. Do not take counsel from those who have never been called to carry what you carry. There will be voices, familiar, loud, and often sincere, that try to herd you back into safety. Your obedience must not be crowded by their fear. Obedience to the whisper from heaven will often contradict public logic. I have chosen obedience over popularity many times, and each time I obeyed, the quiet command doors opened that applause never could unlock. Your next steps will require the same holy audacity. You are not being elevated for vanity. You are being anointed for service. The mantle you receive will demand a sacred economy of the heart, generosity, humility, and fierce fidelity. Money will come as a tool to heal, to rebuild, to restore what was broken in your bloodline. This is why the season of lack was fierce. You needed to learn the language of giving from the place of need, to develop clean hands and a clear motive. The finances that will come are intended to be turned into legacy, not trophies. Keep your heart aligned. Now prepare practically as you prepare spiritually. Set systems, guard your schedule, protect your inner circle. The heavens are about to release not only favor, but responsibility. You will be entrusted with resources that require wisdom to multiply and humility to steward. The tests you endured taught you how to steward small things. Now you will be qualified to steward much. I have seen this pattern. The one who learned to give from crumbs becomes the one whom heaven trusts with abundance. Confidence in this truth will steady you. Hold fast to faith. Expect sudden clarity and gentle urgings that feel like home. Expect doors to swing open and people to appear with keys you did not seek. Expect your childhood prayers to resurface like seeds germinating after a long winter. This is not fantasy. It is the divine unveiling of what was always yours in the Spirit. You are walking into an ordained meeting between your responsibility and your reward. Chosen one, sit with me in this moment and breathe into what heaven is whispering. I want to give you a clear roadmap for receiving what is being released, practical, spiritual, and rooted in the lived reality of a soul who has been tried and found faithful. The first thing I say, plainly, posture matters. Your posture is both prayerful and practical. Kneel in spirit and stand in planning. Expect a download and make a place to receive it, a journal, a quiet hour, a simple list. When heaven speaks, your hands must be ready to write what your heart is given. Anointed one, inventory your inner life first. The mantle will not rest on unexamined motives. Ask, why do I want this? If your heart admits desire for honor or escape, bring it into the light and exchange it for purpose. Hard seasons taught me to measure the why before the how. I remember a season when a sudden opportunity promised prestige. I sensed an itch in my soul that felt like pride. I said no, and months later, a purer door opened that aligned with my calling. That refusal protected me and preserved the mantle I was being prepared to carry. Now, practical stewardship. Heaven will meet your readiness. Prepare systems, simple budgeting and accountability partner, legal structures for business or ministry, and a clear giving plan. These are not worldly trimmings, they are spiritual tools. When I began to steward small well, tracking every gift, every seed sown, I noticed favor followed those records. The heavens honor organized hands. This is not about wealth accumulation for comfort. It is about creating channels for blessing to flow through you and not be wasted. Protect your peace fiercely. Pressure will come as a test. When you feel the pressure, name it pruning, preparation, protection. Pressure that tightens is preparing you to carry weight. It is pruning what would choke your destiny. When critics arise, when relationships fray, keep your center. I have been misunderstood by those closest to me, and each misunderstanding was not rejection, but a refining that removed voices that would have diverted the course of my calling. Guard your heart from offense. It is currency that can bankrupt destiny. Choose your counsel wisely. Not everyone with wise words has a mantle to match your mission. Seek out seasoned souls who have stewarded both blessing and burden well, mentors who balance success with sanctity. I once took advice from a charismatic voice that loved hustle more than holiness. It led to compromise and a wound that took years to heal. That wound was not punishment, but a tuition that taught me how to distinguish between momentum and mandate. Let your inner circle be few, faithful, and trained in the language of obedience to heaven, not just human applause. Cultivate discernment. The mantle will present opportunities that look lucrative but are hollow. Discernment is not only prophetic insight, it is tested by seasons of scarcity and by your response in them. When lack came, I learned to ask 3 questions before I moved. Does this align with my assignment? Will this honor the poorest among us? Does this require me to trade my integrity? If the answer wavered, I paused. Pause is not procrastination, it is prayerful positioning. Sow with deliberate faith. Generosity during drought is one of heaven's secret keys. You have been trained to give when you have little. That very habit is now your credential. The Kairos unfolding will reward hearts that give from need, because those hearts are clean hands. I remember tithing when my bank account read discouraging numbers and doors opened that were not financial at first, but relational and strategic introductions, mentorships, moments of favor that multiplied later. Prepare for logistics. The mantle brings people and people bring complexity. Put basic legal protections in place, meet with a trusted advisor about tax and trust structures, and consider how you will steward donations or profits in a way that is transparent and sustainable. The heavens will entrust you with more when earth-side systems show you are ready. This practical preparation honors the spiritual work you have done. Hold fast to your rhythm of worship and rest. Performance will come calling, and busyness can masquerade as productivity. The mantle needs rhythm times of receiving from God as much as times of giving to the world. When I hurried my way into success without Sabbath, I lost clarity. Rest is not idle, it is receptive. Make space to receive the instructions that the scroll is revealing. Be vigilant about how you speak. Words carve reality. Speak of what is forming, not what was lost. Name your destiny aloud. I am a steward of a mantle that multiplies. Declare not in arrogance, but in covenant truth. This kind of speaking invites heaven to marshal resources on your behalf. I have practiced simple declarations in my bathroom mirror in my car in quiet mornings, and those spoken words became maps I followed when doors opened. And when opposition comes, remember every attack is evidence the enemy knows a mantle is coming through you. When finances were hit in my own seasons, it was not condemnation. It was confirmation that something of value was forming. Pressure that bites is preparation that polishes. Meet attacks with prayerful strategy, not with panic. Name the pruning for what it is, alignment, and move with the steady work of faith. chosen one, I will not leave you with only doctrine. I give you a daily discipline, 3 actions to take this week. First, write down 1 clear assignment you believe God gave you a sentence. Second, find 1 person who will hold you accountable to integrity in that assignment. Third, give a deliberate gift, however small, as a sign that you give from the heart of a steward, not a consumer. These 3 acts align your spirit with heaven's operation. Rest in authority. You are anointed to lead with a mantle that conjoins mercy with multiplication. The heavens are not asking you for perfection. They are asking for purity of intent and faithfulness in the small things. I have walked this path and felt both the tremble and the triumph. The road holds both pruning and praise, always preparation, never punishment. Hold these words, breathe them into your bones. They are not mere encouragement, they are activation. Chosen one. I want to speak to the places inside you that fear the suddenness of favor, the parts that have seen windfalls slip through fingers, relationships fracture, or reputation tattered. Hear me plainly: when blessings move fast, the spirit moves faster than the natural. The test is not whether good things come, the test is how you hold them. Pressure that threatens to break you has been protection all along, pruning, preparation, alignment, not punishment. The very scars you carry are the seal breakers that have readied you to receive without being undone. Anointed one, when provision accelerates, guard your heart before you guard your bank account. Pride comes in like a parasite at the first taste of excess. I have watched friends and colleagues be elevated and then distracted by applause. I myself learned the hard way: early success without inner boundaries invited compromises I later had to repent from. Those seasons felt like failure, but they were tuition, a costly but effective instructor. That pain prepared a humility that now steadies me. Let humility be your first currency. Let gratitude be your daily posture. Create sacred protocols for any new money that arrives. Decide now, not in the heat of a surprise, what honor looks like for you. Who will you fund? How will you give? What percentage will be set aside for legacy, for emergency, for kingdom work? These structures are spiritual as much as practical. Naming them aloud. This is for rescue, this is for restoration, this is for reinvestment, binds heaven's instructions to earth's accounts. I learned to draft simple agreements early on: a giving covenant, a protection covenant, a mentorship covenant. When chaos came, those written agreements preserved my mission. Anointed one, build a small council of spiritual and practical elders. Not many, not committee style, but a triad of trusted souls, one who prays with you, one who reads the numbers with you, and one who speaks the tough truth. I have kept such a triad through storms and through triumphs. When I felt called to invest in a risky but prophetic project, they held me steady, tested the motives and prayed the risk into a wisdom that became a blessing. Choose friends who will tell you no when your soul needs restraint, and yes when your calling needs courage. Understand the nature of spiritual targeting. The mantle you carry will attract assaults designed to discredit the calling, not just to diminish comfort. Expect relational tests, legal snares, and financial confusion timed like raids. These are not punishments. They are pressure tests that prove your readiness. Meet them with a strategy of prayer plus administration. Spiritual resistance without administrative wisdom becomes chaos. So couple your intercession with counsel and let your paperwork be as strong as your petitions. Cultivate legacy thinking. The mantle's true measure is not how much you keep, but how much you seed. Think in terms of lineage, not lifestyle. I remember a decision to fund a modest training program in a neighborhood where my grandparents once struggled. It seemed small, but 12 months later, those trainees launched 3 businesses that employed dozens. The ripple of one humble choice outlived a flashy purchase. Plant the soil of your bloodline with principles, not just possessions. Teach your children to ask, how will this bless the next generation? Practice generosity that inconveniences you. Kingdom multiplication often follows a discomforting generosity. Give in ways that cost you something: time, reputation, finances, because those kinds of sacrifices recalibrate the heart. I gave months of pro bono work when I had thin resources, and those investments introduced me to partners and patrons who returned tenfold. Generosity that costs becomes a testimony that heaven often honors. Sharpen your prophetic alignment. The mantle is a living weight. It needs daily tuning. Keep a short, sacred list of mandates. You will not abandon prayer at dawn, a weekly fast for clarity, a monthly reconciliation meeting with your inner circle. These are not rituals. They are instruments that keep the anointing clean. When prophetic downloads arrive, test them through these practices. I have received invitations that sounded right, but clashed with my list. Those things fell away without regret because my rhythm protected me. Prepare for public perception and private integrity. When the world sees your rise, many will misunderstand the how and the why. Let your response be simple silence, seasoned by action. Demonstrate integrity through transparent processes and repeated generosity. When critics come, let results and righteousness answer. Your best defense is a consistent life, not a clever rebuttal. Train successors now. The mantle is meant to multiply, not monopolize. Begin naming and training those who will carry parts of the mission. In my life, a protege I invested in early now leads initiatives I once carried alone. When the mantle spreads, it protects the original vessel by distributing responsibility. Teach what you have learned about stewardship, sacrifice, and discernment, so the mantle does not become a burden, but a blessing in many hands. Finally, move with a calm audacity. Kairos honors courage that is quiet and resolute. When heaven opens a door, step through with prayerful boldness. Say yes to the mandate even when the path is unclear, because obedience unlocks what explanation never will. I will not promise ease. There will be nights of doubt and hours of testing. But remember, every pressure that sought to derail you was a preparation to steady you for this very moment. Hold these truths close, my beloved. Breathe them into your daily decisions. Let them form the scaffolding of your new season. These are not mere suggestions. They are practical decrees for how to hold a mantle without being consumed by it. Trust me, the charges made against you in the dark are dissolving in the light of this declaration. Keep your hands open, your heart humble, and your feet steady. Chosen one, as the mantle begins to settle on your shoulders, there are sacred structures you must build quickly and tenderly. This is not a checklist of cold tasks. It is a spiritual architecture that protects what heaven places in your hands. When I speak of protection, no, I speak from nights. I learned the hard law of stewardship. Blessing without boundary becomes a flood that drowns the mission. Every wound I carried taught me how to frame a boundary. Every loss taught me how to draft a covenant. Those losses were not rejection, but pruning, preparation, and protection, so you would not be undone by sudden increase. Anointed ones start with a family covenant. Sit with those you love and speak what you intend to steward across generations. Name your values aloud: generosity, education, reconciliation, and righteous enterprise. A covenant becomes a lighthouse when storms come. It reminds children and grandchildren why wealth exists in your line, not for hoarding, but for handing out tables where the hungry are fed and nations are served. I made such a covenant after a season of chaotic gains. It steadied us, and today it guides decisions when temptation knocks. Create transparent systems that honor both heaven and the law. Open accounts earmarked for ministry, for legacy trusts, and for operational reserves. Consult a wise lawyer and an accountant who respect the sacred nature of your calling. I know the discomfort of talking about fees or structures. I too resisted until I watched a ministry splinter because paperwork was ignored. That season was pruning, painful but protective, and it taught me that heaven often insists on earthwise order before multiplying resources. Train stewards now. Name 3 people you will trust with knowledge of your finances and your heart. Not casual friends, but proven souls who have weathered temptation with you and remained humble. Assign them roles, 1 to pray, 1 to plan, 1 to protect. The mantle multiplies when distributed. It suffocates when centralized. I learned this after trying to carry everything alone and nearly collapsing under expectation. That collapse was a classroom, not a curse. Alignment was the lesson. Prepare for legal and physical security without fear. When a destiny becomes visible, those who do not share your covenant can become opportunists. A will, a trust, and clear operating agreements are not signs of mistrust. They are tools of stewardship. Secure your packages, your data, and your meeting places. I once left a ledger exposed and paid dearly in confusion and public doubts. That moment sharpened my discipline. It was preparation disguised as pain. Guard your inner circle fiercely. The mantle will draw admirers and projectors alike. Learn to recognize those who want your access and those who want your assignment. A simple litmus test works. Ask, are they nourishing the mission or draining it? If someone consistently sows division, speak truth gently and release. I lost relationships while I chose sanctity over social ease. Those losses were pruning. They made room for allies who would carry the mantle with reverence. Institutionalize mentorship. Begin a culture where those you elevate are trained in both numbers and nuance, how to reconcile balance sheets and brokenness. Money without mercy becomes sterile. Teach your successors to measure success by how many lives were lifted, not how many zeros appeared on a statement. I invested time in one protege who later led projects that restored entire communities. That investment was a seed that multiplied. It came from a season when I had to learn to give away influence I once guarded jealously. Hold public witness with humility. The world will watch how you move. You do not need to perform for it. When gifts are announced, let the first words be of gratitude and naming God as the source. When critics whisper, let your recorded deeds answer. My practice has been simple. When a door opens, I acknowledge the one who opened it and then show the plan for blessing. It disarms accusation and sanctifies success. Remember, the mantle is a testimony. Your life must authenticate the claim. Keep a spiritual ledger as real as your financial ledger. Record answers to prayer, divine encounters, and the small moments of provision. These entries will nourish your faith when storms come and will provide evidence of covenantal faithfulness for those who join you. I keep such a journal, and in lean seasons, rereading it reminded me that every miracle has a pattern I can steward again. That practice turned memory into stewardship. Teach your household principles of work and worship. Make sure the people closest to you know why restraint matters and why generosity is non-negotiable. I had to have difficult conversations with family about expectation and entitlement. Those conversations were pruning that preserved alignment. Explain to your children the difference between privilege and purpose. When they inherit not only assets but also understanding the mantle finds a runway for multiplication. Designate a portion of every inflow for radical mercy. Call it the first fruit release. Before taxes or accounts, a percentage goes to rescue, reclamation, and redemption. This discipline breaks the idol of accumulation and keeps your hands soft. I adopted this practice after a season of hoarding fear. Giving itself healed the fear. That healing was preparation for the greater flow that followed. Finally, keep your private appointments with heaven sacred. The mantle will demand public action, but its fuel is private devotion. Guard a daily hour where you receive, not request. Sing, not strategize. Listen, not lecture. In those hidden hours, I received a map for seasons I could not have anticipated. Those maps guided decisions that protected my line and expanded my reach. Remember, my beloved, the private is where the public is formed. Stand firm, build wisely, love fiercely. Your mantle is both mercy and magnet. It will draw heaven and test human hearts. Let every painful lesson be translated in your mouth as proof of preparation, every delay retold as divine alignment. I walk with you in this. I have felt the same tightening before a release, and I know the sweetness that follows. Keep your hands open to stewardship, and heaven will fill them. Chosen one, come closer in your spirit, and let me speak to the identity that is rising in you. This mantle will call you to a new name, but names are not given without refinement. When your reputation is tested or your season feels stalled, hear me clearly that pressure is preparation, that delay is alignment, that the pruning you feel is protection for what you will carry. Do not take the bruises as verdicts. View them as the workshop where your character was welded to your calling. Anointed one, protect the origin of your authority, your intimacy with heaven. People will applaud your gifts, but they cannot refill your well. In the busyness of new favor, create a non-negotiable habit of 3 daily returnings, a short moment of gratitude at dawn, a 10-minute reception at midday, where you listen more than you speak, and a place of silence before sleep, where you give back what you received that day. These returnings are not legalism, they are the breath of the mantle. I learned their necessity in a season when I raced from meeting to meeting and arrived at the altar empty. That exhaustion felt like defeat, yet it was a curriculum that taught me to protect the source before I spent the anointing. Keep your story humble. The world will narrate your rise loudly. You must narrate your origin quietly. Say often where you came from, the kitchen table prayers, the counted coins, the nights of waiting. Those memories anchor you to empathy and keep your generosity from hardening into entitlement. I still tell the story of a small apartment where I learned to give what little I had. Saying it aloud keeps me accessible and obedient. When partnerships appear, vet them with spiritual and practical measures. Partnership without covenant is a liability. Before you sign, ask 3 covenant questions. Does this protect the mission? Does this protect the family line? Does this protect the soul? If there is hesitation, slow down. Partnerships are not achievements, they are extensions of trust. I once joined a venture that shimmered with promise but lacked covenant clarity. The fallout taught me to insist on documented values before shared ventures. That fallout was not punishment, but pruning. It preserved me from a larger derailment down the road. Reconciliation matters. If there are broken bridges in your bloodline or your close circle, pursue healing where it is safe and wise. Not every wound is meant to be public, but some must be healed privately so the mantle can move openly. When I finally sat across from a relative I had avoided for years and said, "I am sorry," a door that had been locked in the spirit swung open. That reconnection was not weakness. It was a strategic restoration that unblocked favor years in the making. Invest in spiritual warfare that is paired with strategy. Prayer without plan can be frantic. Planning without prayer can be prideful. Hold both. Assemble a prayer map for 72 hours before major moves and pair that intercession with a basic business checklist: roles, budgets, risk assessments. I combine midnight intercession with morning spreadsheets because heaven honors both devotion and diligence. The mantle works when the seen and unseen march together. Teach your children and your household the language of stewardship early. Legacy is not an inheritance of things only. It is an inheritance of habits. Invite your children into small acts of giving and honest conversation about money and mission. When they learn to name why we steward, not just how they become carriers of the mantle, not just heirs to the account. I began teaching my own household with a weekly meeting where we discussed both the numbers and the needs. It formed a culture that now sustains the work. Secure your decisions with counsel that can withstand both praise and pressure. The right advisor will tell you the cost of a choice before the crowd cheers it. Seek those who balance faith with prudence, people who pray and also read contracts. I have a friend who reads financial statements the way pastors read prophecy, with caution and with care. That friend has saved me from trusting charismatic pitches that lacked covenant. Refuse the lie that speed equals blessing. Heaven's timing often bypasses human rush. When a deal rushes, you recognize the spirit of scarcity trying to masquerade as opportunity. Pause, pray, and protect. I once felt an urgent push toward a lucrative contract that everyone seemed to endorse. I delayed and asked for 3 nights of prayer. The deal changed shape and later revealed clauses that would have cost us our values. The delay was not denial, it was divine preservation. Keep a margin for mercy. A margin is more than money. It is emotional bandwidth, schedule space, and relational reserve. When your calendar is full and your heart is thin, the mantle cannot operate cleanly. Build buffers a day each month reserved for unexpected needs, a line item in your budget for emergent generosity, and a close friend who can speak truth when you are too enamored to see danger. I failed at margin in my early season and paid for it with stress and poor decisions. Those consequences were tuition that taught me the value of breathing space. Anchor your identity in the immovable. You are chosen because of who you are in the spirit, not because of the applause you receive in the room. Titles will change, bank numbers will fluctuate, but your covenant identity is constant. When fame or fortune tempts you to reframe who you are, return to the simple sentence you wrote in quiet: I am a steward of mercy and multiplication. Speak it often. It will be the keel that steadies you in storms. Finally, know this: every victory is communal. The mantle multiplies when you distribute it. Start a small circle of mentorship, 3 people you will invest in this season, and give them not only funds, but teaching and access. Multiplication is not a math problem, it is a spiritual practice. I saw this in a training I ran for young leaders. One person I mentored opened a school that changed the trajectory of a whole district. The joy of watching that multiplication reminded me that your rise is a corridor for many to pass through. My beloved, keep your hands open and your heart clean. The mantle will demand both courage and tenderness. Walk with both. Chosen one. Now I want to speak plainly about the meeting point where heaven's flow touches the marketplace, how the mantle translates into daily decisions, public influence, and sustainable multiplication. When I say the mantle will demand structure, hear me: structure is not cold, it is sacred. And when you feel pressure, pain, or delay, remember immediately it is preparation, protection, pruning, alignment, never a final verdict. Those hard moments are the crucible shaping you to steward what heaven entrusts. First, know that your public season will test private integrity. The louder the applause, the more urgent the need for private discipline. I learned this the hard way. Early favor arrived like a sudden tide, and I almost mistook momentum for mandate. A misstep taught me to hardwire private disciplines before public launches. From that pain, which was preparation, protection, pruning, alignment, I set invisible boundaries: a weekly hour without devices to hear heaven, a monthly reconciliation with my closest advisors, and a written code of honor for any initiative we launched. These were not restrictions, they were channels that kept blessing from spilling into chaos. Second, steward your reputation as you would a garden. Reputation is cultivated slowly and trimmed regularly. When someone attacks your name, do not react out of fear, react out of strategy. Record the facts, bring wise counsel, and let your consistent fruit answer the noise. I remember a season when rumors swirled and finances tightened simultaneously. The sting felt like punishment, but in truth it was pruning. It revealed weak points in our systems. We tightened processes, improved transparency, and used that season to build trust that later became a foundation for larger partnerships. Third, create a ministry budget that thinks in seasons. Money in the Mantle is seasonal and strategic. Designate inflows to 3 buckets: sustain, seed, and sudden mercy. Sustain covers operations and those you already serve. Seed funds new kingdom initiatives that align with your assignment. Sudden mercy is the discretionary reservoir for emergencies and divine detours. When I began to label income this way, decisions that once felt overwhelming became straightforward. Giving out of the sudden mercy bucket became a prophetic practice. Often the very gifts that seemed small opened doors that multiplied beyond measure. Fourth, train a harvest team, not a following. The mantle must be distributed into capable hands. Recruit people who can handle both spreadsheets and sorrow, who can calculate budgets and carry burdens. I invested in a young manager once, teaching her both accounting and compassion. Years later, she led a rescue program that saved families from cycles I once knew too well. Your legacy will be the team who can continue the work with integrity when you are called elsewhere. Fifth, safeguard your identity with ritualized remembrance. The seasons will tug you toward amnesia about origin. Build rituals that remind you of origin stories, public testimony, nights, private remembrance days, or a literal wall in your home with names and dates that remind you where you began. I keep a simple ritual once a quarter. I wear the same old jacket I had in the leanest season, and I tell the story of that winter aloud. It humbles me, it protects me, it keeps me tethered to mercy. Sixth, develop prophetic listening as a boardroom skill. The mantle needs both counsel and clarity. Before committing to large expenditures, pause for a disciplined time of listening, a set number of hours for prayer, a scroll of questions for discernment, a small fast if needed. When I learned to pair the ledger with the listening room, my decisions carried fewer regrets and more confirmations. Make prophetic input part of your planning calendar, not an afterthought. Seventh, be intentional about training successors. Your elevation is not just for you, it is a corridor for many. Start apprenticeships, invest in leadership development, and give access early. I once gave a young leader a seat at the table months before I expected to step away. That training made the transition seamless when it came. The mantle that is hoarded will corrode. The mantle that is taught will multiply. Eighth, prepare for spiritual targeting with legal readiness. When doors open, validators and vultures alike will appear. Have basic legal agreements prepared, a trusted lawyer on retainer, and a financial auditor you can call. These are not expressions of cynicism, but of stewardship. I learned this after a messy partnership created public confusion. The cleanup took time, prayer, and counsel. The error was a pruning moment that taught me to marry faith with form. Ninth, cultivate a ministry of testimony. Money without story is an empty ledger. Keep documenting transformed lives, restored families, and healed places. When you present plans to partners, lead with testimony before you lead with statistics. Stories open hearts, numbers sustain plans. In meetings where I led with human stories, first doors opened faster and teammates stayed longer. Remember the Mantle moves when proof and passion align. 10th, practice sacred withdrawal. There will be seasons when you must step back from public roles to recover clarity. Never confuse absence with failure. Those withdrawal seasons are alignment times when heaven rewires the assignment at a deeper level. I have taken public breaks that felt like loss, but returned with sharper strategy and renewed anointing. Treat withdrawal as a tactical advance, not retreat. Finally, live as if you were stewarding something larger than life, because you are. The mantle you carry is not for personal comfort, it is a lever for divine economy. Guard it, systematize it, and distribute it. Keep saying the covenant sentence you first wrote in silence, I steward mercy that multiplies. Speak it, live it, and let it inform every ledger line, every handshake, every public praise. My beloved, these are not theoretical notes. They are drawn from nights of confusion and mornings of clarity I have walked through. The seams of your story are being sewn into a garment of destiny. Hold the garment gently, stitch by stitch, with wisdom, and wait on the exacting hands of heaven. The mantle will not break you, it will make you. Chosen one, come close and hear the finishing voice in this hour. I speak as one who has been refined by seasons of waiting and sudden favor. I have felt the stretch and the lift, and I know how to steady a soul when destiny leans in. This is not a pep talk. This is a careful prophetic laying on of instruction so your feet will not slip when the mantle becomes visible. First, embrace the paradox. Speed will arrive, and you must move slowly inside it. Hurry is the enemy of holy carrying. When sudden doors open, the temptation is to sprint. Instead, breathe, consult, and then step. Pressure that urges you is preparation, protection, pruning, alignment, not rejection. The very nudge that feels like a push is often heaven's hand arranging placements and people. I learned this after a lucrative invitation demanded an immediate yes. The hurried yes almost cost me my calling. That near miss was not punishment, but a pruning that taught me reliance on the whisper more than the roar. Second, protect the treasury of your heart. Money and mantle will test affection and allegiance. When praise or profit arrives, notice where your gaze goes first, upward or inward. If your first glance is to what you can buy, slow down and repent. If your first glance is to who you can serve, you are moving in alignment. Every wound I carried that once felt like failure now reads as tuition. It taught me to love people more than position, to choose mercy over margin, and to prize legacy above lifestyle. Third, craft a simple code of honor and live by it loudly in private and quietly in public. Decide before the wind changes what you will never trade for: influence, compassion without compromise, faithfulness without fame, and generosity without spectacle. Write it in one sentence and put it where you will see it each morning. I keep such a sentence in the wallet I used when I was broke. It returns me to roots whenever the world wants to rewrite me. Fourth, build a small but ironclad team. Not committees, not yes people. 3 or 5 souls who will bind themselves to your covenant and to truth. One will pray, one will plan, one will protect with legal sense, and one will provoke you to honor. When I tried to carry everything alone, the load bent me toward shortcuts. The correction that followed felt like loss, but in fact it was alignment, trimming away isolation so that the mantle could sit on shoulders held by many. Fifth, institutionalize mercy. Let generosity be a built-in line item of any increase. When provision flows, have a pre-made pathway for immediate compassion. Mercy that waits for authorization is mercy delayed. I set aside a first fruit percent and watched it open relational doors I could not engineer on my own. Those unexpected connections returned as partnerships, not merely as profit, because mercy attracts covenant. Sixth, train your tongue to declare destiny, not deficit. Speak of unfolding purpose in the present tense. I steward mercy that multiplies is a sentence I say quietly when fear knocks. Words shape the weather of your life. They call forth provision and summon help. When you name the assignment aloud, heaven narrows conspiracies of favor toward you. But remember, declaration without humility becomes vanity. Pair your bold words with hidden repentance and consistent practice. Seventh, refuse the counterfeit offers of quick legitimacy. There will be flattering invitations to buy status with compromise. They will be loud and temporarily convincing. Pause. Taste the offer and then test it against your covenant code. I once almost accepted a platform that required my silence on matters essential to my calling. Saying no felt like loss. In truth, it preserved the mantle. The pruning cut away applause that would have hollowed out the work. Eighth, steward your narrative with care. Share wins. Hide the mechanisms that would endanger partnerships. Testimonies transform hearts. Operational minutiae can fuel critics. I learned to tell the story of rescue before the spreadsheet of return, because people give to people, not to numbers alone. Let testimony be the trumpet that summons allies. Ninth, invest in the next three. Identify 3 people you will train, fund, and release this season. Begin small, teach large. Multiplication is the true metric of Mantle success. I invested in a young leader who now leads a network that rescues children. That one small investment continues to multiply in ways my singular efforts never could. 10th anchor, daily in solitude. The mantle will demand public engagement, but its fuel is private devotion. Protect a daily pocket of listening where you receive instruction more than you project ambition. I have returned to that quiet room in moments of crisis and found the exact word that opened a door I could not have forced. Solitude is not withdrawal, it is recharging for service. Finally receive the mantle as a covenant and carry its weight with joy. It will ask much. It will also return much fruit. When trials come, name them aloud for what they are: preparation, protection, pruning, alignment, and let that naming transform your fear into steady work. I have felt the exacting hands of heaven shape me with the very pressure that once felt unbearable. Each painful lesson became evidence that I was being made ready, not rejected. My beloved, lean into these practices as holy planks beneath your feet. Walk with courage, but walk with care. Keep your hands open, your heart tender, and your mind trained on the appointment that awaits. The seals are loosening. The scroll is moving. Heaven is not late. It is precisely on schedule for what you were born to carry. I stand with you, and I will not let go. Chosen one, breathe with me now. This is the hour where instruction becomes invitation, and invitation becomes activation. I have walked with you through the pruning rooms, the quiet nights, the sudden favors that felt too soon, and I tell you with tender authority, you are ready. The pressure you felt was preparation, protection, pruning, alignment, not punishment. Every tight place has been shaping your capacity to carry what heaven will place on your shoulders. My beloved, hear this as a personal assignment. Receive the mantle as a covenant before you receive the money as an account. The mantle is relational, the money is functional. When the two meet rightly, entire bloodlines shift. I have seen it. I remember a season when I was given a resource larger than my comfort. I could have spent it like a trophy. Instead, I set a covenant first, a transparency plan, a giving rule, a succession map. That simple step turned what could have become a liability into a lever. What felt like a loss at the time was actually protection and alignment. So here are practical, sanctified steps I ask you to take this week, not as performance, but as preparation. These are not multiple choice, they are marrow-deep moves. 1. Write one covenant sentence and place it where you will see it every morning. Make it short, I steward mercy that multiplies. Put it in your wallet, your journal, your phone. Speak it before you check email or accounts. This sentence will calibrate your first glance towards service, not self. 2. Assemble your triad. Choose 3 people who will stay on covenant with you. 1 who will pray and keep you honest spiritually. 1 who will read the numbers and keep your hands clean administratively. 1 who will speak truth even when it hurts. Bind them by invitation and by a simple weekly check-in. I have depended on my triad in storms. They did not remove the test, but they preserved my vessel. 3. Institute a first fruit release. Before you allocate anything else, designate a percent that goes immediately to mercy and multiplication, to rescue, to training, to rescuing a neighborhood from neglect. Give it quickly and without fanfare. The speed of your mercy will become the signal that heaven responds to. 4. Create 2 legal items, a simple operating agreement and a protective trust or will. Call a trusted counselor and ask for these 2 documents. They are not distrust, they are stewardship of what the hand of heaven will give you. I learned this after a costly oversight. The fix was not shame, but a covenantal correction that protected many. 5. Name 3 successors and begin teaching them one practice this month: budgeting, reconciliation, or prophetic listening. Apprenticeship is how mantles multiply. When I invested in successors, the work outlived my seasons and became a river. Now spiritually, I ask you to do 3 inner exercises. These are as important as the outward actions. 1. Daily threefold, returning morning gratitude, midday listening, evening confession. These short rhythms keep the well filled and the vessel clean. I began these practices in my leanest winter, and they have kept me from being dismantled in my richest summers. 2. A Sabbath boundary. Choose 1 day a week where you refuse to negotiate deals, read numbers, or respond to pressure. Use that day to receive. Rest is not absence from action. It is the soil of sustained calling. 3. A private scroll. Keep a journal titled Answered Alignments. Record every small favor, every phrase repeated by different people, every prophetic nudge that became real. Over time, this scroll becomes evidence and map. When storms return, and they will, reading this scroll will steady your faith and remove doubt. I speak this next part as a prophetic declaration over you, my child. The seals are loosening. The hidden scroll written for your life is unfolding now in Kairos timing. Doors that were once barred will open in sequence, not chaos. People will arrive with keys you did not seek. Money will follow mandate. Favor will chase alignment. Receive it with a humbled heart and practical hands. Expect tests, but do not fear them. When opposition appears, name it for what it is: a sign that the enemy recognizes value in your destiny. Resist panic. Employ counsel. I will remind you again, pressure equals preparation. Let that naming change how you respond. Walk into the storms steady, because storms show you exactly what must be reinforced in your structure. Finally, receive this blessing. Speak it aloud now, if you will. I am the chosen steward. I carry a mantle of multiplication. I will be faithful in little and trusted with much. I steward mercy that multiplies. Say it with belief. Say it with trembling if you must. Let it be the keel under your days. My beloved, I have felt the same tightening that you feel. I have watched heaven move in small increments and then suddenly in spectacle. I know the taste of waiting and the taste of overflow. This season you are walking into is both sacred and strategic. Keep your hands open, your heart humble, your systems wise, and your circles small and faithful. Stand still for a moment and breathe this in. The appointed hour on heaven's clock has struck for you. Your scroll is unsealing. Heaven is aligning provision with purpose. Walk into it with reverent obedience, steady humility, and joyful expectation. I stand with you as the one who has walked this path. I will not let go. Chosen one, I seal this word over you as a sacred commission. Your sealed prophecy is opening, your hidden scroll is being revealed, and you stand now in your exact Kairos. Heaven's clock has struck for you. My beloved, receive this blessing. Favor will meet fidelity, provision will meet purpose, and the mantle will find its rightful home on your shoulders. Stay faithful, stay aligned with the whisper, and walk forward with gratitude for what is forming. I send you with a prophetic benediction of strength, clarity, and holy multiplication. If this stirred your spirit, leave a sacred sign below and share so another may awaken.